You walk into a room and instantly forget why you're there. You stand in the kitchen staring at the open refrigerator, completely blank. You lose your keys for the third time this week. Or a word is stuck on the tip of your tongue and just won't come out. In that moment of panic, the terrifying question hits you: is this just aging, or is this the first invisible sign of Alzheimer's? What if I told you that in many cases, your brain isn't actually dying, it's just hibernating? It has deliberately shut down specific functions to survive a toxic chemical spill that you likely created this morning. We are currently facing a silent epidemic of something medical experts call pseudodementia. This is a state where chronic stress, inflammation, and metabolic chaos in your body mimic the exact structural damage of true dementia. The symptoms look the same to your family, and the confusion feels the same to you, but the root cause is completely different. And here is the critical truth you need to hear: if you ignore this, that temporary fog can eventually harden into permanent damage. But if you catch it right now, in this specific window of opportunity, you can reverse the atrophy and literally turn the lights back on. But how do you know the difference between a brain that is degenerating and a brain that is just exhausted? The biggest red flag isn't forgetting a neighbor's name, it is waking up at 3 a.m. You probably think that's just a bladder issue or a normal sign of getting older. It is not. That wake-up call is a massive cortisol spike. Biologically, your stress hormones are surging when you should be in deep recovery, suppressing your sleep hormones and alerting you that your brain's nightly cleaning system has failed. Your brain is trying to wash out toxins, but the stress chemicals are keeping the door locked. This isn't just a bad night's sleep, it is a biological alarm bell ringing in the middle of the night telling you that your engine is overheating. To understand what is actually happening inside your head, we need to decode the vital difference between structural failure, which is true dementia, and functional downregulation, which is essentially extreme burnout. When you are chronically stressed, your body floods the hippocampus, the memory center of your brain, with high levels of cortisol. Now, cortisol is actually toxic to your neurons in high doses over long periods. So, to protect themselves from this toxicity, your neurons don't die immediately. They undergo a specific biological process called dendritic retraction. They literally pull their physical connections back and go offline to conserve energy. This is a reversible survival state, not a death sentence. Let's visualize this so you never forget it. Picture the windshield of your car. Dementia, or Alzheimer's, is like a heavy rock hitting that glass. The structure is physically shattered. Those glass shards are the beta amyloid plaques, and the cracks are the tau tangles. No amount of wiping or cleaning will fix broken glass, the structure is gone. But pseudodementia? That is the exact same windshield, fully intact but covered in thick, opaque steam. You can't see the road, which manifests as memory loss and confusion, but the glass underneath is solid. That fog is just cortisol. Biologically, picture a lush tree during a severe drought. The branches, which represent your dendrites, do not snap off. Instead, they slowly shrivel and retract toward the trunk to save water. The tree is alive, it is just dormant, it is wintering to survive, the season of stress. The connections are waiting to grow back, provided they get water. But here is where you might be accidentally poisoning that tree instead of watering it. You think you're helping your brain by making healthy swaps, like trading cow's dairy for oat milk, but you might be destroying your ability to focus. Here is the chemistry the marketing leaves out. To make oat milk sweet and creamy without added sugar, it is enzymatically processed. This processing breaks down the oat starch into maltose. Maltose is a sugar with a glycemic index of 105. To put that in perspective, that spikes your blood sugar faster and higher than pure table sugar or even a can of Coca-Cola. This causes a massive, rapid insulin surge, which is inevitably followed by a devastating crash. Science calls this neuroglycopenia. It literally means your brain is starved of sugar. When that crash hits, usually 90 minutes after your latte, you can't remember words, you feel shaky, and you feel confused. You think you are having a senior moment, but you are actually experiencing a fuel crisis because you spiked your system and pulled the plug on your own energy supply. So, how do we water the dormant tree and clear the fog off the windshield? We need to stop treating the symptoms and start treating the system. The guiding principle here is metabolic flexibility and circadian alignment. Simply put, you must flush the waste while you sleep, and you must switch fuel sources when you wake. First, you need to fix your sleep architecture to activate the glymphatic system. Think of this as your brain's internal power washer. It is a plumbing system that opens up at night, effectively shrinking your brain's glial cells by 60% to create channels that flush out the toxic plaques and metabolic debris accumulating during the day. But here is the catch. This cleaning crew only clocks in during deep slow-wave sleep, and it cannot work if you have high insulin. This is why you must follow the 3-2-1 rule. Stop eating food 3 hours before bed, stop working 2 hours before bed, and cut all blue light 1 hour before bed. If you eat right before sleep, your body is busy digesting food instead of cleaning your brain, leaving you with yesterday's trash still clogging your neurons when you wake up. Second, we have to stop the energy crashes with a strict naked carb ban. You must never eat a carbohydrate alone. I don't care if it's a healthy piece of fruit or a slice of toast. If you eat it naked, without a buffer, you spike your glucose. Always pair it with protein or healthy fat. This slows down digestion and prevents the insulin crash that creates that sudden, terrifying wave of brain fog where you can't focus. Finally, we need to bypass the blockage. Since a stressed brain often develops insulin resistance, meaning it struggles to absorb glucose for energy, we need to manually switch fuel sources. You need to add C8 MCT oil to your morning routine. This stands for caprylic acid, and it is the specific fraction of coconut oil that your liver converts directly into ketones. Why does this matter? Because ketones are a super fuel that can cross the blood-brain barrier and power those dormant neurons immediately, even if your insulin pathways are broken. It's like having a backup generator when the main power grid goes down. Look specifically for C8 on the label, not generic MCT, and start with just 1 teaspoon to avoid stomach upset. This is literally high-octane gas for a sputtering engine. Let's clear up one final dangerous myth before you go. You might be resigned to the idea thinking, I'm just getting older, so memory loss is inevitable. That is false. Your crystallized intelligence, your hard-earned bank of knowledge, vocabulary, and skills should actually remain stable as you age. If you are having frequent senior moments, stop blaming your birth year and check your medicine cabinet. Common drugs like antihistamines, specifically Benadryl, and many over-the-counter sleep aids belong to a class called anticholinergics. They chemically block acetylcholine, the key neurotransmitter responsible for learning and memory. They create a chemical fog that looks exactly like Alzheimer's, but is actually a side effect of that allergy pill you take every night. Now, I know some of you are still scared. How do you know if it's truly serious? I want you to use the anosognosia rule. This is the clinical red flag. If you are sitting there watching this, genuinely worried about your memory, it is likely just stress, distraction, or fog. You are aware of the deficit. But if you are not worried, but your spouse or children are terrified because you ask the same question every 5 minutes without realizing you just asked it, that is anosognosia. That is a total lack of self-awareness regarding your condition, and that is a major medical red flag requiring a neurologist immediately. But for the vast majority of you watching this, your brain is not a crumbling building, it is simply a withering plant waiting for water. The atrophy you see on scans can often be reversed. You are not a victim of your genetics, you are the manager of your cortisol. So, here is your mission. I want you to try the 24-hour cortisol detox. Tomorrow morning, do not look at your phone for the first 30 minutes. No news, no emails, no stress. Instead, view natural sunlight and eat 30 grams of protein within a half hour of waking. This biologically resets your cortisol rhythm for the entire day. If this video gave you hope, Click the like button so this information spreads to someone who needs it. Now I want to know, do you feel the fog of stress or the crack of confusion? Comment the word clear down below if you are ready to start the detox and get your focus back. I'll see you in the comments.